We have to adapt. Evolution wasn't just a dusty chapter in your old high school biology book. No, it is the greatest show on Earth, and it's been running for a long time. Millions of years ago, fish fancied a stroll, so they grew some legs. And bats realized darkness was merely a lighting issue, so they opted for sonar. Chimpanzees understood standing up straight really makes them run a lot longer, so hence the humans. Adaptation wasn't a choice. It was a ticket to the next day. Today, not so much. Today, we really softened the edges of natural selection. So you don't have to be the tallest guy to pick the fruit on the top of the tree. No. You, in fact, take it a step further. You don't even have to see, because a pair of glasses and everything becomes clear. In fact, take it one step further to the extreme, and you don't even have to walk. We'll get you a wheelchair, a chair with wheels on it. Nothing about that suggests survival of the fittest to me. But hold your applause, because in the cutthroat world of business, the old rules still apply. If you're not adapting, you're giving your standing ovation to your competition. I got a story to go with it. Once upon a time, not so long ago, a Friday night implied a trip to the halls of Blockbuster. Not that I know anything about Blockbuster, I'm only 23 years old, but if you know what it is, it goes like this. You take your friends and family down the road to the Blockbuster store only to be welcomed by endless shelves of CDs and DVDs of your favorite movies and actors. Right? And at the Blockbuster store, the library rule would apply. You can take your favorite CD and take it to the desk and cash it out or check it out or sign it out. Point is, you take it for a short rental period. And most would say that this part about going to the store and picking this stuff, this was half the fun, right? It wasn't about necessarily picking your weekend's entertainment, but it was about your friends and your vibe and everything else. There's a plot twist, obviously. Enter Netflix, the upstart. These guys were the David to Blockbuster's Goliath, right? And they were in a market with a giant in it. And every time you're in a market with a giant in it, you have to do something crazy. And crazy is indeed what they've done. These guys came up with an idea as absurd as selling ice to an Eskimo. They said, why not mail the DVD straight to the guy's house, straight to the consumer's house? We don't even need to have them walk over here. We can skip all that. And this seems counterintuitive in the beginning, right? I just said that half the fun was going to the store. So why is it then? Because Netflix understood something profound about human behavior, and that is, although we like traditions, we like much more convenience. The convenience of watching whenever you want, however you want, as often as you want, and without worrying about the late fees that Blockbuster so cherished, right? Now, this DVD idea really started working out well for Netflix. They started to compete with Blockbuster, but they weren't done. They weren't done adapting. They were going to evolve even more. And so what they did was they said, okay, let's have another crazy idea into the play. And this one was actually crazy. This one was black magic for the time. They said, why not stream the movie over the internet, right? And trust me, with the buffering speeds of the time I'm talking about, this was unheard of. This was impossible. But Netflix understood one more thing, and that is, every time latent human desire comes up against technology, you always bet on technology. Because what we know today is that we'd rather push a button than walk to a store. Who knew? Blockbuster didn't know, and now they're paying for it. Because Blockbuster was a business dinosaur. And don't be a business dinosaur, right? Don't be a business dinosaur. Don't think that just because it used to work, that it will continue to work. Don't pat yourself on the back for last year's achievements. That's done, right? Let's move on from that. Crazy ideas is what's in right now. So every time you're stuck against a wall, every time you're competing against a giant, a crazy idea might just get you out. And a beautiful example of a company that loves crazy ideas is Red Bull. These guys are the masters of the art of unconventional. They came up with crazy guerrilla tactics to get their product out there in the beginning. Here's one of them. They said, why not place empty Red Bull cans along, trash cans in major cities like London and New York? You'd see all these empty Red Bull cans in the trash can, and as a consumer, I'm thinking to myself, I'd be walking down a street only to see all these empty Red Bull cans and think, am I the only one that hasn't tried a Red Bull yet? Has everyone had a Red Bull and have I not? The first thing that would make me want to do is run straight to the store and get a can of Red Bull. It works like a charm. It's a guerrilla tactic to get into the market. So Red Bull continue to go against the status quo. Even today, Red Bull go against the status quo. You can see this on their social media, right? every time you look at your favorite places, social media, let's say it's Domino's or McDonald's, what are you guaranteed to see 2 times a day? No? I'll tell you. You will see the product. You'll see a beautiful slice of pizza coming out of melted cheese, or maybe a greasy hamburger, right? And this is meant to water your mouth. This is meant to trigger the emotion of, I want food, I want it now. And that's great. You can go to their store and become a customer, but Red Bull aren't looking for customers. Red Bull are looking for fans, right? And you can see that through their social media. Every time you look at it, you'll never see one time a standalone can of Red Bull. In fact, you will see skydivers jumping from space and skateboarders bouncing off the walls, just casually people setting world records, right? Take a look at Red Bull social media, and it becomes really a movie to watch. That's because these guys transcend traditional marketing, right? These guys are way beyond that. And in a market with a giant like Coca-Cola, this is the minimum amount of crazy that you have to be. So maybe impracticality could be your biggest asset in a world like this, right? Consider the humble Post-it note, right? It was a failed experiment in the world of adhesives, turned into a global office staple. Every monitor in every office probably has a Post-it note at the bottom that says, do this, right? So this is proving that not every time you want to make a change, it has to be a technological improvement. Sometimes you don't have the funds to do what Netflix did and stream the movie on the internet, but it can turn into something smaller, right? It can turn into something in the mind. Adaptation happens as often as it does in the factory, in the mind. We can see this again and again in the age-old debate, iPhone versus Samsung. I often find myself arguing with my perfectly logical engineer of a father about how his phone is so much better than my phone and how his phone can do everything, and mine is an overpriced, useless, just a piece of marketing. But maybe he's right about that. Maybe his phone is better than my phone. But what if it's not the product that I'm looking for? What if it's something beyond that, right? I don't think Apple are selling us necessarily the best phone every time, but they're selling us an emotion of being an Apple customer, right? Because if that wasn't true, then why is it that 9 out of 10 of the people in this room are holding an overpriced, useless iPhone and not a great, wonderful Samsung in their hand? Something to think about, right? Again, you can see that you don't necessarily need the best technology to adapt your business to beat your competitors, right? And one last example I'll give you of that is this. Have you ever ordered a taxi in a big city maybe? And you order your taxi and you wait and you wait and you wait. And this becomes more and more stressful as time goes on, not because it takes too long, but because you don't know when it's coming, right? And a company called Uber came up with a perfect solution with almost no technology. Because a logical person would just take that and go, why don't we put an algorithm that finds the highest demand areas and puts the most Ubers there and blah, 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 math and blah, 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 right? But Uber thought differently. They said, okay, we can't fix that, right? We can't spend $1 billion to do a 5% decrease in the waiting time. So then, okay, what do? Uber creates a map. A map, you've probably seen it, where your driver is slowly coming to you animated as you wait, and you can see exactly where he is. And then, if you're having a coffee with your friend and you notice that he's stuck at the lights down the street, well, then you can order another coffee, right? You don't have to wait outside in the rain. It doesn't have to be a mystery. It really solves the problem. If you think about it, the duration of the wait has not changed, but the quality of the wait has changed drastically. Maybe it's not necessarily about the technology. Maybe it's a play on psychology, right? Not every improvement has to be a technological breakthrough. It can be a psychological one, right? These are all crazy ideas that improve the world. Because I think, well, maybe, just maybe, the world doesn't belong to those who understand the cold, hard algorithms and the math. I think it also belongs to those who understand also the warm, soft, often irrational behaviors of humans. I think the world belongs to those with crazy ideas. And crazy ideas run the world. And we will never be successful until we learn that we have to adapt our business to the crazy ideas that keep coming out. So my question to you is, what will you do to adapt your business in this ever so competitive market? Thank you.